Welcome to The Explainer. You ever look at a pill in your hand and just wonder, how? How did scientists figure out that this exact amount, taken this many times a day, is the perfect dose for you? Well, today we're uncorking the science packed into your prescription bottle.
Believe it or not, this idea from way back in the 16th century is pretty much the foundation of modern medicine. It just perfectly captures this high-stakes balancing act, finding that precise amount that heals without tipping the scales over into harm.
I mean, it's a huge challenge, right? For the longest time, the only method we had was, well, dangerous guesswork. So how did we get from that risky art to the precise science we have today?
All right, let's dive in. We have to start with this fundamental principle, this core idea. The poison is the dose. This is literally what separates a medicine from, well, a poison. Think about it. In the early days, finding the right dose was a total guessing game. Doctors would just give a patient some amount of a drug and watch what happened, which, as you can imagine, meant some people suffered toxic effects from way too much, while others got zero relief from way too little.
So, the big breakthrough came when scientists had this major shift in focus. They realized they needed to stop looking only at the dose being given and start tracking the drug's concentration inside the body and what it was doing over time. And this new way of thinking led to a brand new understanding that every single drug interaction is a two-way street. There's what the drug does to your body and what your body does right back to the drug. And it all comes down to these two core concepts. They're the absolute cornerstones of figuring out the right dose. You've got pharmacokinetics, we'll just call it PK, and pharmacodynamics, or PD. They're two sides of the very same coin. So let's start with PK. The easiest way to think about pharmacokinetics is like tracking a package. It's the story of the drug's entire journey, how your body absorbs it, sends it where it needs to go, breaks it down, and then, finally, gets rid of it. Basically, PK is all about the concentration of a drug in your system over time.
Now for pharmacodynamics, or PD. This is the other half of the story. If PK is the journey, PD is what happens when the package arrives. It connects that concentration level we just talked about to the actual effect on your body, both the good stuff we want and, the potential side effects we don't.
And here's how those two puzzle pieces connect to give us a predictable outcome. See, it all starts with the dosage regimen, your prescription. Then pharmacokinetics takes over and determines the drug's concentration in your body. And finally, pharmacodynamics links that concentration to an actual effect, good or bad. Nailing this chain of events is the key to all of modern drug therapy.
So now that we have this PK/PD framework, how do scientists actually find that perfect dosage? Well, they're looking for the sweet spot.
And that sweet spot has an official name, the therapeutic window. The entire goal of your prescription is to keep the drug's concentration right inside this optimal range. It's the target they're aiming for. Think of it like this. If the concentration dips below the window, the drug just doesn't work. It's ineffective. But if it goes above the window, you start risking those unnecessary and sometimes dangerous adverse effects. The whole game is to stay right in the middle, where it's just right.
And this is why your dosing schedule, how often you take a pill, is so incredibly critical. With the right timing, like in regimen A, each dose keeps you right in that therapeutic window. But if the timing is off, like in regimen B, you can easily overshoot into the danger zone. The goal is simple, just enough, just often enough, to stay in that sweet spot.
This explains so much. Take two drugs for very serious conditions, like morphine for pain and digoxin for your heart. They have wildly different schedules, right? Well, that's because morphine gets eliminated by your body super fast, so you need it frequently. Digoxin, on the other hand, hangs around for a long time, so one dose a day is all it takes to stay in the window.
But here's the twist. Even with all this amazing science, there's one huge, unavoidable complication in this whole equation, and that complication is us. Every single one of us is different.
I mean, if we were all identical, this would be easy. One standard dose would work for everybody. But of course we're not. We have what scientists call inter-individual variability, which is really just a fancy way of saying our bodies all handle drugs a little bit differently.
Check this out.
For the anti-epileptic drug phenytoin, if you give 3 different people the exact same daily dose, you can get wildly different concentrations in their blood. That's PK variability in action. Their bodies are all processing the drug at different speeds.
And then you've got the other side of the coin with a drug like warfarin, an anticoagulant. To get the very same therapeutic effect, different groups of patients can require completely different concentrations of the drug. That's PD variability. Their bodies are just responding with different levels of sensitivity.
So the really crucial thing to get here is that this variability isn't random. It comes from very real, concrete factors. Things like our age, our weight, how severe our illness is, what other medications we might be taking, and something we're learning more about every day, our own unique genetic makeup.
But even after you account for all of that precise science and all of that complex individual biology, there is one final decisive factor that can make or break a therapy.
And that final factor is called adherence, because the data on this is just staggering. After only 1 year of a long-term therapy, 50% of all patients have simply stopped taking their prescribed medication.
And this happens for a million different totally human reasons. Maybe you start to feel better and think you don't need it anymore. Maybe the side effects are real pain. Or maybe you're just not convinced it's working. Whatever the reason, it means the most perfectly calculated, scientifically ideal dose in the entire world is completely useless if it isn't actually taken.
In the end, it really shows that successful therapy isn't just about the science in the bottle. It's a partnership between all that brilliant science and the patient themselves. All those calculations in the world come down to a personal choice. So the real question isn't just for scientists, it's for all of us. What does it truly mean to take ownership of our own health?